Well, welcome back, everybody, and I'll welcome our next presentation to the stage. Please welcome Sebastian Bergman. Sebastian is a corporate and project development professional with over 25 years' experience. He specialises in preparing for structuring and executing transactions across infrastructure, energy and resources, and also professional service industries. Sebastian manages the development of the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub. And please welcome Sebastian Bergman, presenting the Urannah Project for Bowen River Utilities.
As Nicola said, my name's Sebastian Bergman. I'm a principal at Renewable Energy Partners, which is a originator and developer of renewable energy projects. We've been working co-developing the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub with Bowen River Utilities since about 2019. So hopefully I can run you through a bit of an overview of Bowen River Utilities and the project, and then take some questions at the end. So Bowen River Utilities, I think you can see across the top there, is really a combination of three projects: the Urannah Water Scheme, the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, and the Collinsville Irrigation Scheme. The presentation I'll provide is I'm broken up into 6 parts, but we'll briefly go over BRU, a summary of those 3 project areas, a bit of an update on the Urannah Dam itself, and then I'll get into a lot more detail on the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, followed by some bit of detail on development plans for the pumped hydro component and wind component, and then we'll have a small wrap up at the end. So Bowen River Utilities, or BRU, was established in about 2019 as a partnership in partnership with the Bowen Collinsville enterprise, which is located in Bowen. The dam part of this project, or the project, was initiated in the 50s when there were a number of studies performed in that in the Bowen River catchment area around a large dam and irrigation scheme. BRU was formed up in order to bring the project, as a private proponent, was formed up to bring the projects, or these projects, together under one brand, because they're effectively co-located, and at the moment are under one approvals framework, so they have a coordinated project status with the Queensland State Government. So the Urannah Project, as I mentioned, is made up of three components: the Urannah Water Scheme, which is large dam, the Collinsville Irrigation Scheme, and the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub. So the Urannah Water Scheme is this large dam, so it's 940 gigalitres, or 950,000 megalitre dam, proposed about 100 kilometres to the west of Mackay. Also includes a 160 kilometre pipeline connecting that proposed large dam down to Moranbah. It's in that Burdekin catchment area. The Collinsville Irrigation Scheme is an irrigation scheme that would effectively be connected to the large dam through basically in-stream distribution of water, and it's about a 20,000 hectare scheme, which is indicated by the green dotted lines on that map. And then what we're here to talk about today, the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, is in its current configuration proposed as 1.4 gigawatts and 11,375 megawatt hours of storage over 2 stages, a 5-watt wind farm and a gigawatt of solar, primarily to pump the water up from the lower reservoirs to the upper reservoir. And then 17 kilometres, 275 kV transmission line connecting the pumped hydro projects to the existing Powerlink Strathmore and Nebo transmission line. In terms of development timeline, the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, the pumped hydro component, we're targeting bringing the storage piece online in and around the time when Callide B is forecast to come offline in 2028. So you would have seen recently a number of sort of media articles about the Urannah Dam. So as part of this last federal budgetary cycle, there was the federal government committed $483 million in capital effectively for the large dam, and with the other 50% expected to come from private sector. So just a bit of history about the Urannah Dam. So following those studies in the 50s, in about 2016, BCE received a grant to do the strategic business case in accordance with the Building Queensland framework. 2019, another grant was received by BCE to do the preliminary business case. That was completed in 2019, and then a detailed business case was then commenced, and a draft of that was submitted to the government in March 2021. So at the moment, the project, this coordinated project that includes the dam, the irrigation scheme, and the renewable energy component is an EIS is being prepared, and we expect that it'll be released for public comment in sort of Q2 this year, so imminently. The project itself is also on the Infrastructure Australia priority list, which is helpful from both the state and federal government perspective, and we have ongoing support from both major political parties and all levels of government.
The Bowen Pumped Hydro Energy Storage Project, situated in the Yungola hinterland around 85 kilometres west of Mackay, the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub. Hydroelectric storage plant will be able to dispatch 1.4 gigawatts of power for over 8 hours when fully constructed, working alongside wind and solar outputs to provide on-demand green power to over 500,000 Queensland households. Constructed across 2 pumped hydro sites, the project provides essential security and stability services to the northern part of the national electricity market. Both sites will share ancillary infrastructure such as roads and grid connections. The project will create over 1,000 local jobs and inject $2.6 billion into the Queensland economy. Stage 1 is planned to be operational by 2028. Stage 1 delivers a 900 megawatt 8-hour capacity, with lower storage situated on Bowen River around 5 kilometres downstream of the existing Yungola Dam, with a new 50-metre high dam wall. And the upper storage around 1 kilometre to the west on an adjacent plateau, holding 10.8 gigalitres with a new 50-metre high dam wall. The storages are linked via an 8.5 metre shaft and tunnel arrangement to a powerhouse on the bank of Bowen River. Stage 2 has a 500 megawatt 9-hour capacity, with the lower storage situated on Furious Creek, roughly 10 kilometres downstream of the Stage 1 site, with a new 54-metre high dam wall. And an upper storage, located on a plateau a further 2.5 kilometres to the west, of 6 gigalitres with a 65-metre high dam wall. The storages are linked to the powerhouse via twin steel surface pipelines with 2 shorter tunnel waterway sections. The Bowen Renewable Energy Hub will connect to Powerlink's existing 275 kilovolt network between Strathmore and Nebo substations, with wind, solar and hydrogen also being connected behind the meter to provide a firm green energy product to the national electricity market. The Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, the battery of the north.
So just briefly talk through project history. I mentioned before that there's, as part of the Urannah Water Scheme development, that a number of studies were commenced sort of in the 50s and proceeded through till 2016-17 when BCE effectively picked up the development of the project and moved it forward through that Building Queensland framework. The pumped hydro component of this project, which is, I suppose, the core of the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub, was sort of identified as an opportunity as part of the preliminary business case, which was completed in 2019. That study was, I suppose, a chapter in that business case, which is available, I believe, online, and was completed by SMEC and identified 5 or 6 options to use the large Urannah Dam as the lower reservoir of the pump storage. And that was the sort of the configuration that was proposed as part of the PBC. We became involved in 2019 and started looking at this project and did a lot of ground sort of truthing with GHD of the work that was of those opportunities. And so what we really identified was technically it was going to be very complicated to use the Urannah Dam as the lower reservoir for the project. So we identified a number of sites that were further to the south of the proposed Urannah Dam. So the current configuration is physically independent of that proposed Urannah Dam. So it's quite independent, and it's to the south of the Urannah Dam. Those are the 2 pumped hydro stages, and immediately sort of the existing. So, in parallel to that work that we were progressing, the IAS was lodged with the Coordinator General, and the project was declared a coordinated project, and the ICS work commenced. So, in 2020, we received a couple of $1 million grant from the federal government to pursue the pre-feasibility study for the Renewable Energy Hub, and that was completed in early 2021, that grant was committed. And following that work, we have started preparing to enter the feasibility stage. So that's where we are today, working on the initial parts of the feasibility stage. So it's still from a project perspective relatively early development, but the approvals process and the coordinated project is probably generally a lot more advanced than otherwise would be for a project of this nature. So focusing on the pumped hydro component for the moment, the pumped hydros that we saw in that visualisation is the 2 stages, so 2 reservoirs per stage, connecting waterways, a powerhouse at each stage, and 17 kilometres from transmission line. The project, as it's currently sized, is 1.4 gigawatts and effectively 8 hours of storage. There is opportunity which we are considering at the moment to resize those stages and potentially decrease the power generation and increase the storage. So that we end up with a deeper storage. So I think one of the configurations is the stage 1 is 750 megawatts and 16 hours. So still working through that configuration, but currently the 2 stages of the stage 1 is stage 2. The map on the right-hand side is effectively shows the AEMO's reses, and as you're probably aware, in AEMO's ISP, Q4 is the ISAC res, and it's probably one of the few locations in Queensland where the topography and wind and solar resources would enable a project of this nature. So we're looking to connect wind and solar with very large storage and create green sort of dispatchable power. Again, this is purely focused on the pumped hydro. We would hopefully commence operation in 2027, and we're still on track to do that. Asset life of 75 years, as construction period of 4 years, and really targeting to have the project up and running prior to the closing time of KAB. So, obviously, a very large pumped hydro project, which is effectively a big battery, it helps to firm intermittent renewable energy such as wind and solar. So, as an example, solar is obviously being generated during the day, so it enables you to pump the water up from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir, and then the sun goes down to release it into those shoulder periods where there's high energy demand. 6 o'clock at night, people work, turn on their TVs and cook dinner, and potentially turn on air conditioning systems, and that's about it. Unlike other renewable energy sort of projects, there's a lot of, for this type of project, a lot of the capital expenditure is in the civil component, so there's a lot of work around construction during the development period, and then a fair number of jobs during operation of the project. So briefly on the 2 stages as they're currently designed, you'll see from this slide the writing is a bit small on the bottom, but we're talking about concrete rock-filled dams for stage 1 upper, and roller compacted concrete dams for lower. It's about 11 gigalitres of water storage, so obviously much, much smaller than the Urannah dam. So I think the Urannah dam is proposed as 960 gigalitres, so it's much, these are effectively small reservoirs in very steep valleys, so water footprint and is much smaller. We are looking at quarrying on site, so most of the material will be brought, will be dug out in the middle of the upper reservoir. We're looking at 2 sort of approximately 8-metre tunnels, which will connect the upper to the lower reservoir, and the waterway length about 1.5 kilometres over and ahead of 275 metres of vertical elevation. Stage 2 is currently configured as a small project, so 500 megawatts in 8 hours. The volume of the reservoirs is about 6 gigalitres each, so about 50% of the stage 1 sizing. A longer distance between the reservoirs, so about 3 kilometres. Predominantly surface pipelines here rather than underground tunnels. 7-metre diameter pipelines, and ahead of about 290 metres, so the same sort of vertical elevation distance as the stage 1. So this should give you hopefully an overview of, from a development planning perspective, the table at the top sort of summarises the components of the Renewable Energy Hub. So we're progressing to the feasibility study stage of the stage 1 of the pumped hydro, which looking at financial close in 2024. Probably cost us $35 million to get to financial close, and then it's a $2 billion worth of construction to get to hopefully a commercial operation date, which is fully tested by 2028. Estimated jobs during construction of 1,000, and then operation of 140. Stage 2 will follow on immediately from stage 1. Equivalent sort of capex as well as the next funding required. The wind farm, which I haven't really touched on yet, proposed, which effectively would be along the ridgeline behind the pumped hydro project. Wind farm of this size probably takes about $10 million to get to financial close, and we'll expect it to be a financial close in 2024. And then it's a shorter construction period, commercial operation date of at least the first couple hundred megawatts of the project in 2026, and an estimated capex of $1.2 billion. So the solar farm component is something that we'll probably make a decision on much closer to the operation of stage 1 of the pumped hydro, because because it will probably be a behind the meter solar farm, which is effectively connected to the pumped hydro itself, in order to have a cheaper cost to people lower regulated. So very large solar farm, but because the timeline for development approvals and the construction are much shorter, the decision of the solar contract. And just to provide some comparison, I've put in a couple of rows on the Urannah Dam and Collinsville Irrigation Scheme. So both looking at financial close 2023, that's still a significant amount of debt extra required to get them to that point. Commercial operation date 2028 in line with pumped hydro stage 1 billion, 1.35 billion and 400 jobs in construction assistance in operation. So the Urannah Project, as it's currently designed, which is the title of it in the coordinated project status, we're looking at another $100 million worth of development funding to get us to financial close on the components of the project, and then nearly an $8 billion capital expenditure to get us to construct the development project. So a bit more detail on development planning. In the two columns on the left, you'll see this is the work that's been done to date. It's been a reasonably long journey to get to this point. We've done a lot of work to de-risk the project. The next phases of the project predominantly will move at the start of next year into a fairly intensive drilling campaign where we drill out the dam walls in both the lower and upper reservoirs. We'll start to engage with an OEM, so select one of the turbine pump generator suppliers. There are offshore suppliers. Select one of those early because the connection to the grid is generally quicker path, so we will probably partner with one of those early. And then from there, we'll do a reference design, complete the approvals for the project, finalise the UR and other approvals required, and then probably move into an ECI process where early contract involvement, which around some of the technically higher risk components of the pumped hydro development. Once that work has been integrated into reference design, we'll more than likely go out to a high-dollar EPC contract at that point for construction over 3 to 4 years, including all the ancillary work, roads and activities to make the project work. From a wind perspective, less complicated development pathway because wind farms are generally these turbines that are already in manufacturing production, and the modelling of these turbines and how they work to the grid is reasonably well understood. Connection process is still a critical part, but it just means that the development timelines are shorter. So we'll go through the approvals process later this year, finalise, select an OEM, commence the connection application process, go through and then the financial close with an EPC contract with one of the OEMs effectively, and our purchase agreement. That's primarily the two primary sort of things that we pursue. And we expect construction to then happen over the next 2 to 3 and potentially have the project phase depending on how large the eventually. So in conclusion, we're looking, the Bowen Renewable Energy Hub as it stands is a combination of wind, solar, and hydro. Given that we're creating green dispatchable power on site, there's an option to put a green hydrogen production as well. We have de-risked the project substantially from where we started, and really the next phases of development are around removing some of the uncertainties around the type of reservoir water. But we see this as a very promising project, and we have no doubt that we will proceed to financial close in a reasonably rapid way. So if you're interested in getting more information about the three projects under the Bowen River Utilities sort of banner, my suggestion is to go to the website. You can email info@Bowen Utilities. There's also a phone number, which is 1-800-URANNA, and this QR code should work in terms of subscribing you to the newsletter that BRU put out on a regular basis. As the project's in the sort of EIS phase, there'll be a fair bit of community consultation, additional community consultation happening over the next sort of 12 months. So there's also an opportunity to provide input into the EIS and how that is formed. So look, thank you.